Marcus, and for my leader, I chose Pastor Phil Hopper, lead pastor at Abundant Life in Lee Summit, Missouri. I chose him because he's been a pillar within the community for many years and will continue to be for years to come. And then in addition to the employees that he leads, he's also responsible for leading over 10,000 members within the church. And then when I asked him what is the importance of trust while leading, he said when leading people, it is essential to cultivate meaningful relationships with those people, and the best way to do that is a foundation of trust. He says being able to trust my workers is very important to him because he needs to be able to know that when he tells people to do, that they're going to do it and do it right. And when I asked him who had the most influence on how you lead, he said, I can't just single out one person in my life because there's been many that have had an impact on me, but perhaps the biggest influences have been his dad, his former police captain, and his wife. And how do your employees respond to your leadership? And he said they make it much easier on him because they respond great to his leadership. They rarely complain and go above and beyond his expectations. And he said that the biggest reason for this is that he respects them, and then in turn they respect him. And how would you rate yourself on communicating with important stakeholders? And he said, I'm pretty effective at communicating with the church board. They're really the only stakeholders we have or people that I answer to. And then other than that, I would say I'm good at communicating with the members of the church, considering that he still has a job at the church. And then what one experience in your life prepared you for your position? He also said, I can't just single out one experience in my life because there's been so many. But he said, I never thought I was going to be a pastor, and if you had seen him before he was a pastor, you would think the same thing. And he said having faith in God's plan and knowing that everything was happening for a reason helped assure him and prepare him for his position as lead pastor. And what values are most important to you as a leader? His top three were respect, honesty, and forgiveness. And he said these are probably the most important values for anyone when leading. And the leadership model that he most closely resembles is transformational leadership, and I think this just has a lot to do with his nature of being a pastor and leading people to change their lives. Thank you.
My name is Gabby Goebel, and the leader that I chose to interview for this project is Lance Peters. He is the principal of the high school that I graduated from, and I chose him because he has always been a strong leader for the faculty and the students, teaching them and leading them how to better themselves, not only for them, but also for others around them. And he's prepared us for not only life outside of high school going into college, but also going into life after college and going into the real world. His leadership aligns best with the leadership model of transformational servant leadership values and ethics model. The first two questions that I interviewed him were, what is the importance of trust in leadership? And his answer was, trust is the foundation of relationships which are essential in leadership. And as we all know, trust is something that's super important not only to everyone, but it's also, like he said, super important for a relationship, and starting it from the beginning to the end, making it the foundation of the whole thing. The next question was, who has had the most influence on how you lead and why? And his response to that was his faith in Jesus has had the most influence on him and on his leadership. He wants to live as an example on how to build up people and how to confront someone with their best interest in mind, keeping their best interest in mind rather than his interest in what he wants to get out of it. The next two questions were, how do your colleagues react to your leadership? And he said that they react positively. His goal is to connect people with what they're most interested in and what they will enjoy the most. And that's something that is super important, especially when you're in a high school or middle school or any type of teaching position, because you want the teachers to have a positive impact on the students and also show interest and be enjoying what they're doing while they're working to help lead the kids in a positive way. The fourth question was, how would you rate yourself at being able to communicate with all your important stakeholders? And he said that he's better in small groups or with individuals, being able to talk to them and in a positive manner. And his skills are being gracious and straightforward when confronting difficulties with someone, being able to go about it in a positive way instead of coming off as something negative. The last two questions that I asked him were, what experience in your life prepared you for your position? And his response was that not one experience had made it so that he was prepared for his position, but being able to help people experience success has been a huge thing for him. And this is where he finds a lot of joy and purpose in his job. The various attempts, successes, and failures continue to develop him as a leader. And then the last question that I asked him were, what values are most important to you as a leader? And he said, to take care of people, respect their values, let them know you appreciate them and what they're doing, and then also being genuine with someone. Don't let yourself believe that working with someone that they are lucky to be working with you, or that they're lucky to work with you. Being able to work together on the same level, the same wavelength, and also be a leader to the people around them instead of just thinking that it's all about them and that you're higher up than them. And yeah.
Hi, my name is Brian, and I decided to do my presentation on Luis Kikín Ucelo. He is the owner of Ucelo Martial Arts Phoenix, as well as my Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu coach. I chose him because he's a great leader who always puts his people ahead of himself. His dedication to his employees and students, in my opinion, is truly remarkable. When I asked him about the importance of leadership, Kikín said that trust is everything when it comes to being a leader. It is the foundation you and your team build the vision and confidence to achieve the ultimate goal. On the second question, I asked him who has had the most influence on how he leads. He did not specify a specific person, but instead decided to say martial arts has had an influence on how he leads. He says that the ability for him to relate martial arts to everyday situations makes him feel prepared for anything that comes his way. When asked how his employees react to how he leads, he says that his employees, and especially his students, react to his leadership by following and accepting him as a leader. Their acceptance makes him feel loved, trusted, and inspired to keep doing what he does. When asked him how he felt he was able to communicate with stakeholders, he said that he feels he's a very clear and transparent person. He says he always likes to express the situation, the reason for the situation, and a possible solution. So in a scale from 1 to 10, he says he'd rate himself an 8 out of 10. When I asked him what experience in his life shaped him to be in the position he is today, he says that, although it was a very specific question, that the best answer would be him being born in Guatemala, a third world country where you almost have to fight every day to just stay alive or feed your family. He says that it's a special place where he grew up, and while he was one of the sons of the most famous martial artist the country has known, he felt that there was a lot of pressure on him inside and outside of the mat, so dealing with that type of pressure definitely shaped him to be who he is. When asked him what values are most important to him as a leader, he said discipline, respect, honor, loyalty, courage, and compassion. And I believe that the leadership model that Kikín is most aligned with is servant leadership. He dedicated his entire life in mastering multiple martial arts in order to give back. So me personally, having Kikín as a coach, I know that he has my best interest in mind, and he always pushes me to become a better fighter. I know he does this for me to achieve my goals, which I am truly thankful for. He's a great man and a great leader. Thank you.
Okay, so the leader I chose was Karen Bredigan. She is the head of the business department in DECA at Eden Prairie High School. The reason I chose Miss Bredigan as a leader is because she has had a huge impact on my life and many of my peers as well. She is the definition of a teacher that goes above and beyond even years after the students graduate, and she's always available and eager to help in any way possible. So the second question I asked her is, what is the importance of leadership? And she said leadership is a key aspect in preparing and guiding the generations to come. The time people may spend leading is not as long as they think, but has a greater impact on every child than people realize, and that she likes to take advantage of that time. I feel she's just kind of saying that in the way that she is a teacher, she doesn't see the students she has for a long period of time, but she likes to be able to make sure they feel comfortable, and she wants to make sure that they get the best out of the class, and she can just do everything she can to help them succeed. So the second question I asked her is, who is the most influential on how you lead and why? And she actually said, the students I lead on a day-to-day basis has the greatest impact on how I lead. Being able to see the kids learn and interact allows me to figure out the best way to set them up for the future. So again, what I think she's saying is she doesn't see people for a long time, so the way she leads changes on dependent on each child, but just being able to interact with the children and make sure she can teach them material the best way and set them up for what they're doing in the future. So the third question I asked was, how do your employees react to your leadership? She said, as she is a teacher, she does not have employees, but she did say, as I am a teacher, my leadership changes based on certain subjects we are learning. But at all times, I feel my students are very responsive and feel comfortable. So again, what she's saying is her leadership does change a lot because of the situation she is in as a teacher. She does not see people for years. It's typically months, or if she's lucky, kids will be participating in DECA for a couple years at a time. But she is very adaptive based on certain subjects or who she is talking to. So her style is just really depends, but she feels that all her students are very responsive and feel comfortable when she teaches because of the way she goes about it. The fourth question I asked was, how would you rate yourself at being able to communicate with all your stakeholders? And she said, as well as being a teacher, I am the head of the business department for the Eden Prairie High School. So I have to communicate with the school board to ensure our department is provided with everything we need to succeed, and I feel this is one of my strongest skills. She had said that she has been at the school for about 15 years now, and during this time, she has been the head of the business department for 8 years. So in this 8 year span, she has built a really good relationships with all of the school board members, as they do change even, but she says it has been one of the strongest skills she has developed, being able to work with the school board hand in hand and having that respect for one another. And the fifth question I asked was, what experience in your life best prepared you for this position? And she said, the best experience I had that helped me in my current position, I would say, is my first internship that was working for DECA. During this internship, she's an assistant teacher as well as assistant to the director of the DECA Midwest department. So she said during this time, she was able to connect with children and learn how to oversee such a professional and influential organization at such a young age. And I think what she means by that is DECA is an organization that works with kids in 9th grade to 12th grade. So these kids are ages 14 to 18, which are some of the most important years of a person's life. So just being able to connect with them and work with them on a person-to-person basis during school, but also guide them in a professional way during DECA has really helped her groom her leadership style throughout the years. And the sixth question I asked were, what values were more important to you as a leader? And the five she gave were honestly what I would expect, knowing her so well after being at the high school for 4 years and DECA for 4 years. So I'm going to break it up into two areas. So the two that I'll go together is compassion and generosity. I feel these kind of appeal to her emotional side of teaching. She is a very well-connected teacher, and she likes to show that she cares about her students and that she loves them, because honestly, she does. The compassion part is just she's very adaptive, and she just likes to show each kid that she cares, so she'll do whatever she can to help a kid when they actually need it. And generosity is, again, along the same lines, just being able to help and showing people that she does care by giving them leeway when they need it and just helping kids in every situation. And then responsibility, honesty, and respect. I feel these go toward the more stern side of teaching, even though she's a very easygoing and loving teacher. She does demand a certain responsibility from her students, that they are turning in their work on time, showing up to class, all that stuff. And honesty is key for her. That's one thing she stressed in every single class, DECA meeting, whatever it may be, that honesty is key. Being able to be honest with her. If you didn't do your work, tell her why, what's happening, will you get it done, and just communicating with her. And then respect is obviously in the classroom. Teachers need to demand respect, and she did that very well, being able to demand respect from each and every student on a day-to-day basis so class can run smoothly.
Hello, this is Bronson Stanek, and this is my Profiles in Leadership presentation. So I will share my screen. Then that. So I chose Steve Stedman, and he is the Director of Sales in Arizona for Humana Health Insurance. And I've known Steve for a long time. We used to go to church with him. So yeah, I've known him as a little kid. He's made a huge impact in my life. He's taught me what it's like to be successful in being a good son, being a good worker, like having good work ethic, and just what it takes to be successful in life. And he has an awesome testimony, so I've heard him speak a lot. So I thought this would be a perfect fit to interview him. The leadership model that I think Steve best represents is the transformational model. And he said, I asked, what is the importance of trust in leadership? He said, trust is earned and essential in order to be an effective leader to get the results he needs. He's in charge of a lot of people within the organization. So if he's not an effective leader, he won't be in that director role anymore. His current boss, he said, has the most influence on how he leads because he's very empathetic with everyone he is involved in, and he's seen what success his current boss has had, and so he tries to role model that. How do your employees react to your leadership? He said since he's worked up his way through the organization, he can relate to what his employees are going through, so there's a mutual respect, which I definitely understand. Like if I know one of my bosses has been in my shoes before, like I definitely have more of a respect for him because he's like proven they can fill that director role. So how would you rate yourself at being able to communicate with all of your stakeholders? He said he's always trying to improve. He believes listening and taking people's thoughts and feelings is a key attribute, which I definitely agree with. Because if one of your workers doesn't feel heard or listened to, like they won't want to follow you anymore. What experience in your life has best prepared you for your position? He said he's worked a lot of like entry-level jobs. He used to work at like grocery stores. He used to work as a janitor one time. Like he's just done these different entry-level jobs, and he's taken something different from each of those jobs. Just being humble, being just getting the job done the best he can. And he said being a single dad, raising 2 kids, almost being homeless at one point, has given him a new appreciation for life and treating everyone as equal. What values are most important to you as a leader? He says getting to people to buy into your vision, or the bigger vision. It's not just about you and your sales. It's the whole organization sales is what really matters. And he also said knowing everyone has a skill that can contribute to the organization. So that just goes along the lines with treating everyone as equal, because everyone has something they can contribute. No one is worthless. So yeah, I definitely agreed with that. And that is it for my presentation. Let's yep, thank you very much and have a good day.
Casey Smith is an elementary administrator along as a teaching and learning coach for North Kansas City School District. She is a close family friend of ours and has impacted and influenced many friends and family I know. She actually taught at the high school, or the school I went to was K through 12, so she taught at our school and was in the library working with the children and younger kids. And a lot of the kids I was friends with and middle school kids that I knew, everyone wanted to TA with her, take her class, go hang out with her in the library, just because she was very impactful, fun person to be around, and easy to get along with. I asked her, what is the importance of leadership? And she said creating new leaders in society is very important. Having a solid vision of what your goals are for the staff and company. And who has influenced? Who has the most influence on how you lead and why? She said Brene Brown, and Brene is a researcher and professor at the University of Houston and conducts research on leadership and communication. She also said Beth Phillips also influenced her because she was the first principal that she worked under and showed her how to be a good leader in the teaching industry. What experience in your life prepared you the best for your position? So she was a principal for 4 years in elementary education, taught for 6 years under an amazing principal, she said, named Star Rich, who taught her a lot about teaching and being a leader. I asked her what values are most important to you as a leader. She said trustworthy, hardworking, willing to take risks, good communicator, good listener, positive attitude, willingness to learn and keep improving. And I would say Casey falls under the servant leader category because of how she treats those that work under her and how they willingly want to work for her and keep working for her and give her such good feedback and reviews. Thank you.
Some of the commonalities between our leaders were that they all heavily emphasized the importance of treating everyone as equal. Some of their common values were respect, honesty, and trustworthiness. A quick summary that describes the characteristics of servant leadership displayed by our leaders were that they all decide to put others ahead of themselves. They know that having a team is at the core of successfully completing a goal.